17th Saturday, but so they're asking us to extend it by however many days they want, and they said
Building Corporation. I have to buy it from LHS.
but they don't even have a survey that says the description what it is. There was also some delay with the correction due from prior building corporation when they did the other project. They were in Louisville or somewhere, you know.
Who handles all their legal matters, Lisa?
Yeah, yeah. But she let me know last week she didn't think, I was like, is there any way we can try to get this done by the 17th? Because I really didn't want to have to bring it back in front of you guys. We still have to do another resolution and a second addendum, or an addendum to the loan, or whatever. So I'm going to try to get it for the packets for Monday.
We see it.
Mike, how you doing?
In the bud.
Good.
Ready? Call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Member Jane Pope.
Present.
Member Aaron Cook.
Here.
Member Bill Bruner.
Here.
Member Mike Lawrence.
Here.
Member J.L. Holcraft.
I'm here.
Utility Director Mel Davis.
Here.
Mayor Dennis Carr.
Here.
And myself.
Okay, we just skip the rest. Just go right to new business. Jeannie Felix, Utility Director position.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for your time this afternoon. I just was wanting to present our recommendation for the Utility Director position. We started off with right around 40 resumes that came in. Myself and the Mayor, with the assistance of Mel Davis, reviewed the applications, and we interviewed 3 of them. Out of those 3, we did conduct references for the top 2 candidates. Both were very strong candidates, but I'd like to recommend Andrew Lyons for the position of the Utility Director. He's a current employee of the utilities. Mayor Mel, you have anything you want to add?
Yes, that'd be my appointment, because I recommend the point. We eliminated a position, and all we had to do is replace the foreman part, but we wouldn't have to replace the position.
So you do agree you won't replace the position?
Oh, we're not gonna replace that, no. That's how we'll have a little attrition here, get rid of people, or not replace them when they retire. If it's not a needed job, then we can cut back on some of our employees that way.
Isn't his title right now superintendent?
No, he's foreman.
Will foreman's job go back up for bid then?
Yeah, but it'll just be the foreman part of it, it won't be the job. His job will be eliminated.
And
I think Andy's, he's qualified to do it. He knows the system, he knows the people. I think Andy, he'll have to brush up a little bit on the electric part of it, but that's no big problem.
And he understands it's a contracted, it's under a contract, and he'll be
Right.
non-union?
Yes, you understand that.
Can you hand me his resume real quick?
Absolutely.
I think Andy's qualified to do it. And if you bring somebody in, it's gonna be a 2-year period, they have to learn everybody, the system, everything. And he's already here.
You have to pay extra to train a man too, if you brought
Sure.
somebody on the outside.
And
Yeah.
he understood that as far as the electric part of it, if he needed any.
He's very prepared to do ongoing training.
Your Honor, if I could say something.
Go ahead, man.
One of the first things that you should do when you're hired for a position like this is look around for the person that might replace you. So about 5 years ago, I started educating Mr. Lyons, and I'll tell you why in just a minute, on the ins and outs of becoming a utility director. When I looked around internally, Andy is the only one, in my opinion, that has enough vision. In this job, you have to be reactive and proactive. You have to do some planning. You might put a piece of water line in this year, and then 2 years from now, put the other part in, and then it's connected and everybody says, oh, that's what you were doing. But that's what you have to do. You can't wait till something breaks. You can, but you have to fix it, and then fix it and fix it and fix it. So we've done some planning, and I think that, I'm going to give you my opinion. I think Andy has enough vision to do that job. I think he'll serve you all well. and the citizens that own the utilities. He'll do a good job for them.
Any question, board?
My only,
Been here.
the only statement I want to make is that I haven't got a chance to look at the resumes because I talked to Jenny on Wednesday afternoon or something. And she wasn't available on Thursday when I was available. She was available today, but I didn't get home till 4:08 today. And so I had to hurry up and take a shower and get down here. I haven't had a chance to look at any of the resumes or applications or anything.
You want to take a look at the other two candidates? I have those here.
No, you know I like to
This
look at
is
them all.
about the only
I
job.
know you do.
Yeah, I like to
Well,
look
yeah,
at
but
them.
there's been time, I mean,
And,
For a short
I just
period,
found out about
and
Wednesday
some
afternoon.
electric company before that for
Mhm.
a year.
As far as them
That-
bringing
that-
When we were
it.
having the
that this
meeting.
was coming up, and then I said, well, I can come in tomorrow, and she said she don't know if Thursday would be good, because she'd be in and out. She said you can stop by Monday, but I didn't get home till 4:08 today, and took a quick shower and got here quick.
Well, and let me tell you a little bit about the interviewing process. Let me tell you a little bit about the applicants first. We had a chef that applied. We had a forklift driver.
There's a customer service from Kmart.
had two cartons too.
Yeah,
Well, there's a
and
bunch of
we,
carpenters.
some of it was,
You didn't have one of those.
no, we
No.
didn't interview those people.
There was,
But the second candidate that we interviewed, Joel something or other,
he had a very good resume.
had a great resume, but I'll tell you what, here's what we discovered, Mike. During the interview process, it was a phone interview. So you can't see the expression on their face, but you can hear the tone in their voice. And I know the gentleman. He's technically, he's very well qualified. But he's lost his last two jobs because he can't get along with the public or the employees. He's been unemployed since
2013,
13.
yeah.
Got the memo.
I might have it in my notes here.
Yeah. He's been unemployed since 13. And it's,
September
you know,
2013.
having been here and know what our owners, customers expect, in my opinion, I don't think he would have been a good fit here at all. And then you all would have had to go through the same process all over again. And that's not very pleasant. But that's, the third guy was an electrical engineer with AEP. He is a design engineer, has never been out in the field, which this job requires. It's not a sit behind the desk job. And when I questioned him a little bit about distribution, we don't have any transmission here. He said, well, he had designed some distribution circuits, and he understood the principles, which is fine. But I asked him about the water and the wastewater. His comment was, well, they run through pipes. And I said, have you had any practical experience with either one of those? No. So that's where we were. I wanted to interview the chef because I thought if he
about
couldn't
him.
do the
Yeah,
job,
we
at
were
least
all
he could
interested in
cook
that.
for us.
Yeah.
Thing about Andy too, he has water and sewer license, and that, the other people weren't available with that. That's a big part of this thing too.
Well, I had the forethought to compare Mel Davis's his resume with three top resumes. And Mel, you had the most excellent resume out of the four. And I do want to compliment you. I have learned one thing about you. You do know your job, and you're a very, very intelligent man.
Thank you, Jane. I appreciate that more than you know. So
I believe Andy could be taught. I liked on his resume where I seen where he can do Excel, because it's not only physical labor out in the field, but it's doing a lot on a computer
right.
with statistics and, like you said, pre-planning and letters I'm sure that you have to send to different people about different things.
There weren't any other utility-related applicants?
There were a couple, Aaron, but none that really,
Well, Jenny, you told me
there was one lady from AEP, I'm trying to
Oh, there
think back
was.
through there.
You
There
went
was
through some of them,
Her name was
yeah.
Amy.
Yeah.
All mostly
a
Paul.
lady from AEP, but
Oh, I asked
she
her if there were any
The
utility
was the
workers within
logistics
the city.
engineer or
Oh,
something.
no, no,
I-
no. No other city employees.
Okay.
Yeah, or utility
Had power
employees.
plant experience, and that's wholly, we don't deal with that.
Yeah, this lady from AEP was a logistics engineer or something, but there was no experience that would relate to what this job does, or what is expected of this job, let's put it that way.
Honestly, it was pretty sad to look through them.
Did you look through all
It
40?
was, no
I
kidding.
mean, that Joel, by far, he's got the most outstanding resume.
Electrical window.
Yeah, on paper, that's for sure.
Wastewater and stuff.
He ain't making
Yeah.
nothing right now.
Yeah, that's true.
He's unemployed.
Cause for that, I mean, Mel,
But, I mean, there was a couple from power plants. One lady, lived up, I think on Georgetown Road, I believe it was, Amy something. But most
I
of them
think
was
I
like
went over her.
carpenters,
Yeah, that's who Mel was just speaking of, I think.
maintenance
sous chef, we did
at
have a sous chef.
schools, customer service at Kmart, forklift operators. I mean, it was,
Is the new,
But,
is the person that takes your place going to get the same rate of pay as Mel, or what's that?
That's,
We did a
that's,
contract.
that's none of my business.
I think we
That's up
do-
to you guys.
yeah.
You might want to pay more, I don't know, but that's up to you guys. It's not my business.
Me and Jenny discussed that, and whoever we choose, it should be subject to utility board's approval of the contract that you come up with whoever.
That's in the ordinance,
Is
Jane.
that the way it goes, Leslie?
Yeah.
Yes, and then also, I mean, you gotta remember too, he is paid by, he or she is paid by the utility rates, not appropriations. So it would be, you guys would be able to do it for more than 1 year if you wanted to.
But the utility board has to approve the contract for that person.
Right.
Yes.
Then we less than what Mel makes.
And
Yeah, and that's gonna be a
Jenny-
decision you guys need to make.
I hope
as far
you'll
as-
try to negotiate it
would
a
it-
lot less, I hope.
Did we actually put any
No.
type of,
We'll bring it back to you guys.
salary in there?
In the contract at this point?
No,
we
no,
were-
no, I mean as far as the
Advertisement.
advertisement.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Did you bring us a copy of that advertisement?
I did not. I was just looking through. I left it on my desk because I ran down so quick.
Well, I read the ad. I should have a copy of it, but I don't know that I do. But the ad was pretty descriptive about what was expected of.
Did ask for a degree, though.
It said
It
it was
did?
preferred.
Preferred.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's preferred, and Andy has had some college background. I don't know exactly how much.
Cincinnati State,
Yeah,
2 years, I think, Cincinnati State.
yeah.
I think, didn't he? Didn't have
Yeah,
some
he had 2 years of electrical before he, as an electrician
That
before he
was-
worked for.
Yeah, working at a
Yeah.
company.
It says Selmar Electric Incorporated electrician. Was he in I guess he was an apprenticeship. Was that union or non-union?
He's-
Do we know?
Or union if it was a-
I don't know, Jane, for sure, but I know he was in the apprenticeship program. So,
That would probably be union, I mean. that's what
which
normally
is
required.
theory and basic electricity. The theory behind electricity, what makes the electrons go from A to B, that's important. The practical side of it, that's the reason I gave you all as much notice as I did, so that we can do some in-field education. And I have some other training courses for anybody that we pick, that I would ask you all to allow me to send them to sort of get up to speed on things.
One thing about it too, Mel's gonna be a phone call away. Whoever, gets position, Mel's still gonna be around.
Yeah,
Well,
I-
and if you hire
I just
now,
live up on
have
the
until
hill,
end of August
so.
anyway, to someone to
No,
shadow
no,
him.
absolutely not. I live here.
Had general
I want my
business-
white lights
business
on and my watered
management
around.
studies. Cincinnati State University.
Just a little FYI, I've worked with him for quite a while, and the thing about Andy is, he can run anything and everything, whether it's equipment, he knows our pay, he knows the system. He's very, very intelligent. He's it's like he's got a kind of a photographic memory. If you ask him where a valve is for whatever. He can tell you how many there is, where it's at. And just having all that background, the experience in the field, and even on the professional side, that's a learning curve that if someone new came in, it's going to be overwhelming. And you're not going to get the knowledge that he has of our system. Because he's put pretty much, I don't know what the percentage is, but most of it in.
And you can look too, he can be here a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's something we need to look at too. We don't be
And
jumping
he's
doing
been
this
here
every 2
since
years.
1994.
Older than me, he's pretty young.
Pretty sharp, young man, really is. A learning curve, he knows the people, he knows the system. You wouldn't have to teach all that to him. Any more?
Just as far as the electrical side, I know he's put together many of panels for lift stations and things like that, so, he's done electric, quite a bit of it, but I know the bigger electric, is something that I would think he'd be able to learn rather quickly, just 'cause he's an intelligent guy.
He said he'd be willing to go to school too, on the bigger part of it, which, Any more of the board?
I know I had a position where I had to take an electric class just to change ballast and learn the ins and outs of electricity. So, not, it depends on what you have to do, where you have to do it. You learn what you need to learn.
And whoever takes this position, they're gonna have to go to classes anyway, because this industry changes. I'd entertain a motion to approve Andy.
I'll move.
A second?
Second?
All in favor? All against? Ayes have it, thank you. I think you made a wise choice, really.
Adjourn.
Question, man.
Now, that's subject to the contract approval coming back before the,
Contract will come back to you guys. When we do the
Correct.
contract, it'll come back for your approval.
and Jennifer will explain to Andy, if we disapprove the contract, he doesn't have the job.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We'll have a conversation with him about it.
I think you'll like, we talked a little.
Well,
we
I
can
can,
talk some.
I can get a draft to you all even as soon as the next meeting. And maybe we ought to have another work session, to talk about the
Contract.
particulars as far as the contract goes. Maybe just email it to you, you guys can review it and.
I just suggest 1 year and drop the rate down a little bit, quite a bit if you can.
You got a question, Bill?
How soon are you guys looking to get him started?
Well, like Mel was mentioning, we do want him to have some time to do some on-the-job training, so we were hoping for either June.
I was hoping that you all would agree to let him step into that in June. That gives him June, July, and then in August, what I'd laid out was we're going to change seats. I'm going to sit on that side of the desk, and he's going to sit on this side of the desk, and I'll watch over him to make sure that things are.
Few weeks.
If he has a question, I'm right there. I might be asleep, but I'll be right there.
Well, we'll get a contract hammered out, get it back to the board, get it approved, and we'll move on.
Well, Mayor, I'd like to say something. I truly appreciate your all's consideration and your thoughtfulness in doing this selection, and thank you for listening to our recommendations. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any more towards the board?
I make a motion for adjournment.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I warmed it up.
Too late now. No, I didn't get home till like 4. It was after like 4:08 or something like that. I was like, I gotta hurry up. Jumped in like a 3-minute shower, got dressed, hurried up and got down there.
Jane,
Drive time.
if any of you have, if any of you have a chance, no, I mean, you too.
You know, like come out of retirement, man. You know, like come out of retirement and come back, man.
Yeah.
How are you,
I
are
got
you
rebuilt
writing
now.
out days after your last day? Like, are you going through
Taking my place.
vacation days?
Took my place, man.
I'm ready to get out.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks,
All right, have a good one there,
Hey,
Jenny.
I'm sorry I didn't get back to you about
I'm ready to get out.
I'll be back now.
All
Oh,
right.
no, it's
Sorry
fine.
about that.
That's fine. I was calling to make sure, because when I read it and it said,
Get one big
it
check
said
and
Board
say
of Works, I
bye.
was like,
No, I won't say bye, I'll say,
so,
Yeah.
keep the lights on the water.
let you know.
What about it?
He is doing presenting to.
Everybody always tells me, I keep saying it, but they say everybody tells me there's not the rooftops. I've told 100 people about it. They have one in Harrison, they have one in every town. Florence. Two exits past Florence. Yeah. Coleraine. We go there twice a week.
We're gonna see the.
Yeah.
In turn, Hollywood sees the revenue, we see the revenue. That's where we come from.
Yeah.
The funding of the gap.
Yeah, we go there twice a week probably.
Talk to you guys individually, to, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I told them.
I don't think they do franchises. I think you have to talk to the company though. Cause, I think somebody looked into a franchise before. I tried to talk Tim into it, but he said, not this year.
Last council meeting.
He wants Grant to talk to him, I think. See if we can get him here.
$25 million.
Why you like him?
That makes sense.
Yeah. We can go there probably twice a week, either Florence or Harrison or somewhere around here.
I'm trying to keep it all in with
How you doing, Tim? You got it? Hey, it might help if I carried my phone.
Return voicemail.
577-977-506.
Looking at me like I should know that, you
That's from
know?
Don.
No, more than I do. Like I don't carry that thing much.
I got it on my blog.
How you doing, Jim?
Bring their money and come on. Build a place.
I hate to be like you.
How you doing, Mr. Sights?
Good, my chest around.
Mike, the restroom was out of order, so I stole the toilet paper out of his oven.
What do you think?
What do you think, Jim?
Working, Izzy?
Oh, they were.
And then he doesn't want to talk to Tim either, so.
Don't he?
I wouldn't use it.
We can order.
You buying tonight or something?
Yeah.
Were you buying tonight?
I wish.
Oh, I'd like to see them.
Was buying something?
See if we can't get them. Come down here and get them cooler lot or something.
I don't think so.
Done got calories on here already.
Well, I'll tell you what.
See
I
what-
go to Ohio, Kentucky, once a week.
Whether they need it or not.
Yeah, because
He's in here.
Right there by Roses, the Rourke, Home Depot.
Yeah, over.
Oh, God. Now, the Sprite. What I'll be eating tonight.
I know, I didn't mean to snub you there, and I never realized anything until I'm already.
Oh, the German.
Don't
I
think
didn't even
anything
notice.
about it, because I'm do that to everybody.
Don't worry about it. I'm the same way.
Missing chest.
I don't see people till I'm already past them.
You see all the little tools they bought? That's crazier than hell.
So you're buying that for everybody?
It's not bad.
Yeah, we've seen that, and Roxanne was on it.
I thought you were trying to do it for
But yeah,
everybody.
he said, no.
Do you eat there?
I didn't know if you know how those.
I make there once in a while.
We have one in the house. Did you like it?
It's been so long ago. The other day.
Man, I drive
It was years ago.
I didn't think I was gonna be here.
Yeah.
Kentucky, we go to Harrison usually, and then up
We
on
had Thanksgiving.
Harrison.
Yeah. Yeah.
Change
It was
it.
years ago. First time I'd ever seen one. Somewhere in South Carolina.
Constant.
Tonight?
Coming in, are you, buddy?
He likes the longer the better.
Get up.
We got a lot of empty spaces down in that Kroger
That's all
lot.
you could do, isn't it?
They tried to get in drink on it.
Much too many more.
And stuff on their signage and stuff they were saying.
What, your grandson's baseball?
I'm Mel.
I knew that.
You're doing that.
Donnie, I believe, wants Grant to talk to him, see if he'll come to town. Donnie to pass those out. No,
Watch that right there.
I've been eating every day.
Yeah.
Razor up.
They have like regular sub sandwiches, but they also have like meatball sandwiches and French dip, like roast beef type sandwiches.
Don't blame me.
Oh, now you can. Now you can. Yeah.
Oh, well,
That was the first
yeah.
3 or 4 days it was out the door, but now, I mean, it can be busy at lunchtime, but if you get not right at lunchtime, you can.
Yeah,
get it.
5 minutes.
But it's good. Man.
Like that.
Let's go on right there now. I want to talk to you. Okay. Hang on, we'll get Mike's chair in there.
How's it going? Great. That's the logical thing to do.
Yeah, I just got I was telling them a little bit after 4. I'd hurt to take a quick shower and get down
You have
there.
that on there?
Yeah, I have a letter that I sent out to them, but I didn't get any response. So I went ahead and put them on there just in case.
Well, actually, I went over and met with some of them and got a payment back, the plan negotiated, but they'll pay it back.
Yeah.
The money
Okay.
on after the concrete payment put in, then we'll continue that same payment until the money will
Okay.
be paid back.
Do you
to the-
still, well, this is the letter I sent. I sent it out to the owners, their husband and wife. And still ask for those, you know, and I told them it's just due diligence on our part. And I didn't get anything back from them, but I'll go ahead and give you guys a copy of this, but.
Mr. Jim said I call that representative.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what they want. I don't know. I was just looking at you. Says how
If you need it.
Where are they now? Are they just waiting for us? This, your new restaurant?
The industrial drive, I went ahead and did this notice, but I want you guys to look it over
I just
because
wanted to hear from
I
you.
put in here commercial, but I'm not sure if that's, because you guys really didn't give me direction as far as what to
Well,
put
that'd
in
be
there.
commercial, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I thought it would be, but I want you guys to
If they
to
don't do
approve
any
this.
work, they don't charge anything. It's still the $5 that we originally.
You ready?
I'm ready whenever.
I call the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission meeting to order on May the 12th, 5 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Grant Hughes.
Present.
Mike Lawrence.
Here.
Tom Rogers.
Here.
Donnie Bryant.
Here.
Jer Holcraft.
I'm here.
Aaron Cook.
Here.
Pat Myers is absent, and Leslie Votaw.
Here.
Has everybody had time to review the minutes from the previous meeting?
It was just the DVD, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yes, according to the DVD, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to announcements. There'll be a walkthrough at the Event Center on Tuesday, May the 20th at 4:30. And our next regular redevelopment meeting will be June the 9th at 5 o'clock. We'll move on to the financial report. As of May the 9th, Redevelopment Commission had $891,938.27. We'll move on to new business. Mike Clark, proposed remapping area, which he's not in.
You might. Just got out of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, we'll move on and do some of our old business. Representatives from Hollywood Casino about the gap funding options.
You want to go first? Sure. Worked well last time.
All right, Todd's going to come up here, I believe, in a second and kind of go through what you guys had sent him off to figure out and then work with Leslie on last, a couple weeks ago. What I wanted to do briefly before we got into that, to make sure we're all looking at the same thing, Mike, you asked me a question 2 weeks ago about what is this gap funding due to, and what is the main responsibility of this? And I answered quickly that most of it was due to the Hilton Doubletree changes. And I do want to clarify that, because we walked through some of those charges, but I do want to make sure that we understand fully what is actually a Hilton Doubletree requirement versus some of the other charges that we're experiencing, just to be fair to everybody in the process. So right now we're working with a potential gap total. I know we've talked about the number of 5.1 million, somewhere in there. The total gap is 6.3. The way that we get to the 5.1 is through Hollywood's contribution that they've already committed, which is about $1.2 million. I think Todd said that in a previous meeting on record. And so the gap that we're really looking at here is in the 5 to 5.2 range, somewhere in there. We did get some news today that some of the FF&E items may be lower than we thought, but we're still trying to finalize a lot of these last numbers that kind of hang out there. Of the $6.3 million total gap that exists, there's really only about 30% of that. It's about 1.8 million that are actually applied that are due to Hilton Doubletree requiring something that we didn't have prior, or that something in addition to what should have been in the hotel. And I say what should have been in the hotel because, as you heard Todd say a couple weeks ago, there were a lot of items that are not included in the hotel in the current project budget of $50 million.
Now, can I ask something for you?
Sure.
Now, is that 1.8, is that after the 1.2 that Hollywood has said they would put in?
No. What I'm saying is if we use a total gap of 6.3, then about 1.8 of that, which ends up being right about 30% of that number, really becomes a Hilton Doubletree upgrade, so to speak, if that's what you want to call it. So where we had a certain shower door, Hilton Doubletree came in and said, no, we use this brand. Or if we had a certain faucet in the shower or the bathroom, Hilton Doubletree came in and said, no, we use this brand. This is what we have to have. You'll find a lot of the brand upgrades actually occur in the lobby space, because that's the first point of influence where they affect all of their visitors, and so they want that brand to be consistent across the board from one hotel to the other in a Doubletree setting. And so you're going to have the things that they normally have, like the kiosk-style front desk, where before we had a monolithic front desk, kind of like your table. Well, they want the kiosk style, so we had to change that. They want their Hilton signage behind the desk. They want their cookie warmer, which is kind of their, and you've heard Todd talk about that, where they offer cookies. So they have cookie warmers built into their front desks. And so they have some pretty stringent requirements on the front desk and the front lobby area, just so they kind of create that brand feel as they walk into the room. So really, we have with the lobby and then the changes in the guest rooms, there's again about $1.8 million that would be required or could be attributed to the actual Hilton Doubletree upgrade. What I referred to last time, 2 weeks ago, that I want to clarify is that there's several other costs included in this $6.3 million, obviously, that included other exterior changes as far as signage and the porte cochere. There's the hotel, the lobby we mentioned. There's other pieces of the guest room. There's the restaurant and the bar and the fitness area. There's the technology costs, and there's this whole thing of extended general conditions. We went through those 6 categories 2 weeks ago. We can say that a lot of those, Hilton Doubletree has said, well, you must have a restaurant and bar in your hotel, you must have internet in your hotel to operate it, you must have phones in your hotel to operate it, you must have these things. And we don't disagree with that. And so, but we can't say that those are necessarily, or that those are at all, in any case, are Hilton required upgrades. Those are items that at the very beginning of the project, we're actually in the project, and then over time through the design process and through whatever decisions that were made in a previous administration at Hollywood with different personnel involved, were taken out or removed for one reason or another. And I can't speak to the internal workings of Hollywood as to whether they thought they were going to be in the contingency numbers or if they were going to provide them on their own. I don't know. I don't know the answers to that, but I do know.
They come before this board, which was a previous board, to agree to take internet service and phone systems out, and
I don't know that it did.
because to me, it's stupid.
It didn't come out.
I don't know that it did. I don't know that it did. The way the project agreement is set up, and if you haven't read the project agreement, I don't blame you because it's very long and lengthy, but it does give the design preferences. Basically what it says is that Hollywood will direct the designers on a day-to-day basis, and the city's job, which is Mr. Todd's and myself's, and our company's job, is to oversee the contracts. And so, you know, if Hollywood directed a change during any one of the design meetings, which we have 30 different pages of meeting minutes from all those different value engineering meetings throughout the process. If Hollywood, whoever directed a change, the only thing that we ever got involved with, and Mario was at a couple of those meetings early on in the process, was really the outside appearance of the building. We actually had many conversations about the fact that we don't care what the inside looks like as much as we care what the outside looks like, because we have to interface the Lawrenceburg downtown with the outside, and that's why certain changes were made. Some of you that were here back then remember us bringing those different variations of the exterior finishes to your attention. So, Mr. Lawrence, I don't disagree with you that removing certain things may seem foolish, may seem different, may not understand it.
Was there documentation signed by somebody that made the decision to remove it?
I don't know that we have anything signed. We have meeting minutes where things were included in one budget and were not included in the next budget.
So you should have meeting minutes of who's saying remove it.
And we're reviewing all the meeting minutes now. We just received those from Messer and Structure Point last week to go through that process. So before Todd comes up and talks to you about the funding options that I think he and Ms. Votal have been through, I wanted to clarify that so we understand that only about 1.7 to 1.8 of this 30% or so can be directly attributed to the Hilton upgrade and the Hilton requirements that came out of their stuff. So with that said, and if you're interested, and later we can talk more about the funding side. Do you have any questions on this before? Yeah.
I have. Okay, if 1.8 of it is from Doubletree, I believe in that contract it says, to sum it up, if Hollywood wants something, they pay for it. Lawrenceburg wants something, they pay for it.
Yes.
Right, okay.
To clarify that, what it says is, and you're right, it says that if they request, or if either party requests a project enhancement that is above and beyond the actual agreed-to documents, it is that party's responsibility to pay for that change. The way the contingency money, the $3 million contingency money was set out, was that was set aside for hidden and unknown conditions. As we talked about before, we had levee issues, we had some weather stuff in the middle. We had a pretty rough winter where we had some delays on the weather side. So all those different soil conditions, different things that we replaced, we experienced over about $1.5 million worth of hidden and unknown conditions, which were paid for out of that $3 million contingency fund. The way the contingency fund further was set up was that if that was expended, then each party then would split that up until a certain amount of dollars. And then after that, it would go to 3/4 to the redevelopment commission, and then finally a full to the redevelopment commission. That was all set up because we didn't know it was going to be in the ground or in the levee when we took that apart to get there. But yes, you're correct in your assessment there.
Anybody else have any questions?
The last thing I would say, Chairman, if I could, is on the extended general conditions part. We talked about this a little bit 2 weeks ago. We talked about how contractors base their schedule and base their expenses, their what they call general conditions expenses, on the time frame that they're expected to be on the project. Last week, you asked me a question whether all of that was attributable to the Hilton delay or Hilton decision or whatever you want to call it. And I said most of it. And I don't know if that's even necessarily completely accurate. I would say some of it is, some of it's due to, and we've gone back and dug into this with Messer Construction, some of it's due to some of the weather delays. We did experience some on the levee side, but then we've had, as we've talked about, the design changes or the design errors and omissions that we've been experiencing. That takes time to work through that process before sometimes we can release something to be built or constructed in order to we know who's going to be paying for that option. And so we're working through some design issues currently, which you guys have been made aware of, and you'll get a new report in hopefully a couple weeks of what the current status of that is as well.
So kind of what I'm hearing here, my words might not be the way you like
Sure.
it, but I hear a little bit of backstepping from
Well,
a couple weeks ago.
It's not so much backstepping as it is clarification, because I thought when I was coming up last week, we were going to talk about funding options, and you caught me off guard a little bit as far as I had 6 categories laid out, but we hadn't gone through and separated which ones were due to design or which ones were due to this. And so I did use words like most or much of or a lot of, and I wanted to clarify tonight exactly what we believe as far as of the 6.3, that about 30% is directly due to the Hilton Doubletree. The balance might have something to do with it, and then there's other pieces that have design-related issues and schedule issues and other things that are going on in the field.
I just, at the last meeting, I didn't feel it was fair to Mr. George to, since he didn't have time to review that.
And I agree with that completely, and that was, I thought he had that list, or the list of the funding options anyway. So, if there's no other questions, I'll let Mr. George come on up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. And thank you to Tim for hopefully clarifying a lot of what was said at the last meeting, and I think it's important that that gets out there. So really tonight, what I want to talk to you guys about, the first item on the agenda was really the recap from the prior meeting, which I think Tim did a good job discussing. I think these meetings, what I see here versus what I see outside of here, what kind of gets back to me third hand, I think if we could just make sure that here is where we discuss things, here's where we make decisions, here's where we speak with facts whenever possible. So going through that number further, and you're right, Mike, it's the reason that I went and asked for the 1.2 million. I know there's changes that wouldn't necessarily be needed in every hotel. It's a Hilton standard, but the way this agreement is set up and with what we're seeing as a community, what we're seeing as a business and as an industry, we cannot short ourselves on projects going forward. In the past, it's been okay. You could do whatever you needed to do, and we kind of had a monopoly. But even today, last week, there was a story on the Horseshoe that talked about they're already laying off people 1 year in. So their numbers are down 1.1 million in their, really their second year of operation. Today, in the Indianapolis paper that Tim was kind enough to forward to me, as well as some of our lobbyists, the state of Indiana is looking at different options to be able to compete a little more effectively with the new gaming operations over on the Ohio side. So when we look at this project, we want to make sure that we give ourselves the best chance for all of us to make money. The issue is, and Tim touched on it, kind of speculation, kind of informal conversations. When I call the people that used to be here, most of them are they're now out of the company, but I still keep in contact with some of them. I think when they went through, if they agreed to VEing out items, it was with the thought that, we said, rightly so, we set aside a good amount of money for a contingency, thinking that it would be there at the end, and then, the environmental issues, the core issues, those things popped up, and, now we're getting near the end of the project, we're almost to that finish line where we can open it, and there's not any money left. So that's kind of why we're in the position that we're in. After the meeting last week, I spoke to Leslie, and she was kind enough to send me the options, and then I've had 3 subsequent calls with our corporate office about these options. And I can go through them now, but I first want to go through how we came up with our preference and our thoughts. When we look at the way we spend our capital, we go through capital committee, and I touched on this last week, but we look at what the ROI is, what the return on those investment dollars are. And so, for the city and for us, if I'm looking at capital investment dollars, I think we all know if we spend money on the casino floor, we're going to make more money. If you haven't had a chance to go over to Belterra Park, I was over there last week for a tour. It's the latest one, and it shows us some of the things that we can catch up on still. But the way we kind of spend our money now, mostly in order, slot machines, gaming equipment. Keeping the latest, greatest product on the floor gives you the best ROI. A lot of times that's a 12-month return on investment. Repair and maintenance CapEx, that would be carpet, that would be electronics, that would be overhead sound, that would be stage equipment, that would be slot chairs and stools. Keeping your casino fresh, big piece of that. Restaurant and hotel equipment, we just spent the $6 million on the hotel. We spent couple million, 2.1 million or so on a lot of the restaurant improvements. So when we start doing those things, that provides, it's an industry where you can create some similarities. You can study, and you have case studies where you can see what everything's going to give you. But even from the city standpoint, when I look at the way you guys would get a return on that money, it's through the development tax, which is about 6.5%, the gaming tax portion that comes to the city about 5.6%, the admissions tax, $1 out of every admission, the CVB tax, which is 10 cents out of every admission. So when I start looking at that, we're looking at a 13% tax funds coming in out of the money that we spend up there. So still, to me, I'm looking at that going, that would be one of the better ways, not only for us, Penn, Hollywood, but for the city to get money back. So when we go into these discussions, and discussions with my boss, which is the regional, John Finnemore, Carl Sotasani, which is our chief legal counsel at corporate, and then Saul Ribstein, which is our CFO. And we're looking at capital dollars going into these next couple of years saying, how can we best spend our money to compete in this market? And the numbers were out this week. Us, Rising Star, Grand Victoria, and Belterra were all down about 25% year over year. So the market itself was down year over year with a new property in it. So again, there is that extra amount of scrutiny over every dollar that we're spending. So it's been a hot topic. It's been 3 phone calls worth of discussion on it. But when we look at that, and then we look at the list that Leslie provided, I think there's obviously the ones that are out of our hands. Those would be the grants. That's for you guys. Obviously, we don't have an issue with that. We don't have any skin in the game, if you will. The other item down there that I think we're looking at, in addition to the 1.2 million additional that we just are putting in, and that number, unfortunately, I'm sure will grow as we go forward. It's really the loan forgiveness on the 14 million that we're taking out in exchange for putting more money in up front and working with the city to say, what's realistic, what do you need? So the items that Tim talked about today, we can go and affect those changes probably better than some of the current vendors and contractors that are out there. The FF&E package alone, we feel that if we go out and purchase it, we can save $500,000 to $1 million off of it.
But not only that, but you don't have to go through the same process that the city would have to, as far as any kind of bids.
Correct. And it's just a more streamlined process. I mean, we have our own, we have MBWB requirements with the state, but they're not as onerous as a municipality. So those types of things, we think we can not only aid in putting more money in up front, but also aid in knocking down that delta, that difference in the initial project cost and the overall one. So, being able to work at least a part of this agreement into that is fine with us. Anything different than that, then, I have some more phone calls to make. But that is not, it was a good conversation. There were 3 good conversations. We believe in this project, but we also believe that we all need to go in with realistic expectations in this time. In every meeting I've been in, this project was intended. The reason why even the city at different times has stated that it should be a flagged hotel and not really associated with Hollywood, was to be able to drive people downtown and drive people to the businesses downtown. If this was simply a Hollywood project, if this was going to simply drive additional gaming revenues, the project would have been done at the casino. I mean, that's the most cost-effective, efficient, and effective way to drive gaming revenues. And so, that also factors into this. The initial goal, thoughts of the project was to be able to drive business down here. So, that's kind of how we get to this end result. But happy to answer, again, any questions. Thanks for remembering my name. But, can answer any questions you guys have tonight.
Any questions? No questions?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
I'm going to stay.
So, as Mr. George just kind of started the process, and as he was intimating there, is that there was a reason, and some of you were on our redevelopment commission 3 years ago, back in 2011, at this time, and some of you weren't, and some of you were part of council back then, and some of you weren't, under a different administration. But if you remember, we set out some development principles, or vision principles, that this project was supposed to do. One of those was to create a social and economic hub for the city of Lawrenceburg. Obviously, the building in its current condition at the end of the street is near completion. Hopefully, once it is open and Hollywood is bringing the events that they've already told you about and the ones they haven't told you about, you're going to start to see thousands of additional people downtown. And you've already got a nice little restaurant that's opened up. I think I was talking to Ken today, and we actually had to stand in line for Beebs and Bubs down there the other day. So it's not something that this downtown is used to, is standing in line and waiting for sandwiches, which is a good thing. So that was one thing. The other thing was, the other development principle that this board, those of you that were there at the time, agreed to as one of the principles for the project, was to help keep your partner, your city partner in Hollywood, competitive in an ever-changing gaming market. And that's what it is. And so I think what you're hearing from Todd and even from me is that the conditions that this project was planned under in 2010 and 2011 are much different than they are today. And Todd talked about, and I helped Leslie, and we kind of walked through that list, and I was not a part of their conversations, but this idea of forgiving at least a portion of their loan, or some portion of their loan, if that's some way to fund some of this, has a lot of merit. And I'm not going to speak from a political perspective, but I'm going to speak from a project perspective, because I don't get elected, I don't get appointed. You guys hired me to give you the information, and then you guys get to make the decision, or you get to pass it on to whoever else makes the decision. So I went over this with the mayor and Grant today, but the idea behind that idea is a couple different things, and I just want to take a couple minutes to explain it so that we all understand it, because what Mr. George mentioned is a problem. We have a problem right now with schedule, and we have a problem with funding, because the city's process of public bid and all those different things takes much longer to do than a private project ever would, and some of us talked about that a couple weeks ago. So the other thing we checked on is if we ever give them a loan, which is possible, of course, it's up to you guys and city council and the mayor's office. If a loan is a possibility, the loan would have to come from, obviously, city's coffers. It would have to be a new allocation or new appropriation from council to do that. But then that money, according to our legal counsel that it's part of this project, can never be transferred over to Hollywood to do any purchasing on their own. That has to be, again, spent by the city, and I see Ms. Votal shaking her head, so if I speak out of line, please.
Mr. Dankert.
Yeah, please correct me. But, so Mr. Dankert from Ice Miller has told us that whatever money the city puts up, then the city actually has to spend that money, and it can't be shifted over to a private party, obviously to avoid rules of public bid law. However, any private party that's a party to the agreement, or any private party for that matter, could give or gift certain things to the project if they wanted to, if they're bringing their own money. And so that's why I think Mr. Votal was the one who came up with the idea originally of saying, hey, this is a possibility. needs to at least be looked at, because it solves a lot of our various problems across the board. It solves the idea that we can still move this forward, they can still put it under their control to finish the restaurant and the bar and a lot of the other things that are the FF&E purchase, as Todd talked about. But it also takes that restriction off the table, allows them to gift whatever portion of the project that we want to work out, if that's how this board and council and the mayor's office want to do it. Or at the end of the day, the other thing it does is that would actually lower their loan amount payment, of course, but that would also probably serve to help make them or potentially more profitable. If you remember, the development agreement is not about them being profitable as much as it is they guaranteed 2 years of operation, and then if they had 3 consecutive negative quarters, they could opt to sell that building off. And so by reducing that loan payment, it is possible that we're helping keep them in the black instead of putting them in the red for 4 quarters, if that were the case. Nobody can forecast, again, I mean, I don't even know that these guys can forecast 3 years out what their revenues are going to be or what this building's going to do. I can tell you it's been fun to watch their sales team, land some bigger contracts and do some stuff. But again, my job that you guys have hired me to do is to present you with the information and let you guys make the decision on how to move forward. I think you've heard Mr. George request that they would, of course, love to see a grant, but I think they're more realistic on the side that they're saying, hey, if we brought money to the table for at least a portion of it, could we receive some forgiveness? There's all kinds of options when you start those negotiations, whether it's performance-based or if we change the terms of the agreement or whatever the case is, all of which, of course, don't just go through this board and have to go back to council. So, tonight, I guess, from a project perspective and from a project team perspective, I would request that this board make some kind of motion, even if it's just sending it on to council for discussion and let council take action on it. So whatever you guys do, I would encourage you not to just let this fester for a couple more weeks or whatever the case is, and at least take some kind of action on it tonight if you can get to an agreement on something. So I'll be happy to answer any other questions if you guys have them.
Tim, I'll make that motion a little later on. But I tell you what, I'm really disappointed. When we made this contract, and then I was on that board, we stressed and stressed and stressed our budget, our amount of money we was going to put in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come up here and you say they don't have telephone jacks and cable and stuff in that place?
There's telephone jacks and cable.
You had it on your list.
There's telephone jacks and cable. It's the telephones themselves.
I just couldn't believe that. I mean, I think we've done our part, and we've put up a tremendous portion of this thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us has took a lot of heat from that, but we felt it was going to be good for our town and for Hollywood. I'm just kind of really disappointed in this thing. And at the end now, and then we tack on all this money.
Which I said in another meeting, the old mayor sat here, and I remember him slamming his fist down, and
we all did.
Was a promise to the citizens, $49 million, no more.
A loan. I think we said the last time we went, we're in favor of, give them a loan at a nice interest rate. I'll make that motion to pass it on to council if, after everybody's had their discussion, if anybody's got anything to say.
Agree with you on the loan part.
So, again, I understand, and believe me, I understand. The real issue is, if we were to take this money out as an additional loan, say, Tim is right, it doesn't help our overall profitability going forward. We have a fairly strict capital structure where we're allotted so much capital based on revenue. So obviously when revenues come down, our capital comes down. It's sometimes doesn't make all the sense. So we have to get special permission to go above the capital allotment. And the reason I went into, and I can go into greater detail if you'd like, but when we as a company and as a city, hopefully the process is happening or it can start happening, we really need to see what kind of return we'll get on that investment. And so spending more money at this project, it would have to come away from slot machines and gaming floor, and those are things that will not help the long-term cash flows of the city or of Penn. So that's,
I think a lot of that is being estimated, the same way when Horseshoe opened up, everybody, at first thought, well, it's gonna go way down, but, it did for a while, and then things dropped off up there, and now the other places opened up.
so, the reality is, and it did go down a lot when Horseshoe opened, and it's, come back slightly. I wouldn't say it's come all the way back. But, this is, I shuddered in the beginning when I would hear, kind of sidebar conversations about this project is going to bring back the glory days, the good old days, and that's not possible. I mean, even if we fill every room, that's not possible. And now, I think that the item that concerns me the most, the April revenues in the Cincinnati market, and by the Cincinnati market, I mean us, Belterra, Miami Valley, Horseshoe Cincinnati, and Rising Star. So those 5 properties. With a brand new property in Miami Valley, so usually in gaming markets, whether it's Las Vegas or Indiana or Missouri or Louisiana, when you add a new property to a market, you'll see growth. I mean, you'll see market share shift in steel, but you'll see growth. So in the month of April, year over year, the market was down, and now we just added another property, and we've seen the impact, and we expected to see the impact initially, because there's a lot of people that go kick the tires, but we will see an impact.
We see it too, and, we've got this money going here and there throughout the county and everything, and we got to think of the future too, what's coming
Absolutely.
into our coffers, and if we can, help with a loan I mean, we'd still have something coming back in, but the city has got to stop giving it away.
I agree completely, and that's, I'm happy to engage in all sorts of other conversations about ways we can do that, and whether it's the way we look at events and festivals, or the way we, pass out things, again, I recommend that this council and every other one, before money is granted or gifted, look at what the return will be, and make sure that, there's something there. And sometimes the return, frankly, is going to be PR, or is going to be to drive loyalty, or is going to be for the future of the children of this community. And other times the return is going to be, this is development. This drives people here. This brings new revenue. This brings tourist dollars. This brings new residents here. So all of those things need to be evaluated, and it sometimes that takes longer than an hour-long meeting or a 2.5-hour-long meeting. And I would encourage that everybody presenting start bringing those things to the table as well.
Todd, if you don't mind, while you're there, would you tell me those 3 revenue sources again, the percentages?
3 revenue.
You're right, for the tax.
Oh, yeah. So if you look at the way we're currently structured, the development agreement is, it's a blended rate, because in Indiana there's an escalated tax rate, so the more money you make, the higher it is. But this year we estimate it to be at about 6.5%. The gaming tax, what comes back to the community, is about 5.6%. The admissions tax, for every admission, we pay $3 to the state, $1 comes back, so you get $1 from every admission. And then there's 10 cents on every dollar that goes to the, I believe it's Dearborn County Chamber and Visitors Bureau.
Just like in.
Yep. Yep. So, when I go back and look at the history, and I shared this with you guys 2 weeks ago, but again, the CapEx that I reference, that's been in the last 10 years, $435 million in capital improvements. And then when I went back and looked at the amount of funding, just in the development agreement alone, I mean, we're talking $540 million. So that's before, the state admissions tax, life to date, you know, we've remitted 233 million, we've paid 1.8 billion in gaming tax. And, you know, that's not all to the city, that goes to the state.
You know how
and
much was to the city?
I don't, I could track it down. I mean, they would keep those records.
I think it's about 1.3 billion, I think.
It's a lot of money.
City of Lawrenceburg.
Yep.
Since casino opened there.
96.
Yeah, since 96 that goes back to. So again, and, you know, I've been in numerous meetings and, you know, we do get these questions, and it's the way it can work better. We're going to get a better return. We'll make more money on the things that's our core competency, the casino operation itself. And from that's the economic engine for many other areas. So pulling money away from that economic engine is not long-term beneficial for anyone. I mean, that's, when you talk about additional revenue streams coming back in, those revenue streams are going to be impacted either positively or negatively by what our gaming floor looks like, by what our property looks like. So that's why, again, that's a clearer correlation in money spent there versus money that we would spend down here. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? What would the board like to do?
Make a motion to send it on the council and let them ponder on it. See what they can come with. Please?
You say by authorizing a loan to PNG?
That would be my recommendation.
I'll second that.
So your motion is to send it to council for them to look at with basically a favorable of a loan. Is that correct? Is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes.
And we have a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We will move back to new business, Mike Clark, for proposed remapping area.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our mapping system was last updated in 2004, and the map that was included in your packet shows numerous parcels, but by 3 different owners, AEP, Anevsky, and Linkmeyer. There's been a lot done. I would like to get this updated. I've got it ballpark priced out for everything to be approximately $30,000, and what we get with this is the control work that we need to do first, the flight and photography, and then to digitally generate the mapping. And also included in this is to take those properties for where they're at now, because there's been so much dirt moved around, to come up with a concept plan to make that entire area developable, preferably for some type of industry or manufacturing. And I've talked with Mr. Hughes on this about, I could cover half the cost with my budget if the redevelopment could cover the other half. Now, one thing, since we first discussed this, we're getting late in the year. From last weekend to this weekend, the foliage has jumped out too much. I wouldn't want to do it right now, but late fall, if this board thinks that it's useful. I mean, it would be a development tool that Mr. Grant Hughes could utilize. I'd like to get this done, so.
So you're looking about 18,000 from this board?
About 15.
15?
Yeah.
If I may, Chairman, if I can add to that, we've had some inquiries about that area. So this would definitely help us with conversing with potential business relocation.
And you said all this you show on here is 3 owners?
Right,
Aneski, Linkmeyer, and AEP, did you say? Or?
yes.
Any questions from the board? What would the board like to do? Does the board want to do anything?
It's not our land, I don't.
No, it's not our
You're
land.
asking for the
3 owners.
15 or?
Linkmeyer,
15.
Aneski, and AEP.
Well, why would we-
Make the motion, we move forward. With Mr. Clark's request.
First and a second. Or first, do we have a second? First and a second, is there more discussion, Donnie? I heard you asking.
I'm good.
Okay, there's first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
We will move on to more old business. Inglewood Apartments, which I had met with Mr. Crooks, and I think he's talked to the management at Inglewood and kind of went over and negotiated payback. If they could borrow the money through redevelopment to fix the foundation. They have a loan with the city now for some concrete work, approximately $2,800 a year gets paid back. When the concrete would be paid off, they would continue with that same payment until money would be paid back in full, or if the building was to sell before it was paid back in full, proceeds would pay off the loan.
I also did, put in your packets, I sent a letter out May 2nd. I'm sorry, I didn't get it to your packets, actually. But it is a letter that I sent out to, these are the general partners, Mr. and Mrs. Surack, they're husband and wife, obviously. And, I did request a more detailed financial records from them both. And as I explained, as the letter explains, the request for your personal financial records is due to the fact that as a municipality, we have a duty to use due diligence on these types of transactions. And we would, we customarily require such records to be produced in our grant program, and feel that we should employ the same procedures in this instance. I did tell them that we had a meeting tonight and we could consider it again. I have not received a response from either one. I don't know if you've heard from them or Miss Martin has. But I did tell them that if they're, please forward the financial records to Miss Martin for presentment at the meeting, so.
I know at the last meeting, it was 2-2 vote on giving the money versus it was discussed about a loan. So when they didn't think they could do any type of loan, they've agreed to the loan that I just described. If that is something the board would want to move forward with.
And this is what the owner's signature on that?
The owners has agreed.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
And it will be the same payment. I don't have the exact number of what their concrete payment is, approximately $2,800 a year.
Does anybody know how many years they got that concrete for?
5.
5? When the property sells,
And then if the property was to sell before the loan would be paid back, proceeds from the sale would pay off the remainder of the loan.
they go bankrupt, we get the problem.
What's the loan for, 127,000?
It's 127, or about 128, I believe.
Yeah.
So they're good with the loan then, Mr. Crook?
Yes.
Make a motion to vote the loan?
And is that in the amount of their low bid, or?
Yes. I think that's what they wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
127,000, wasn't that what you
I
wanted?
don't have the,
One's around 127, the other one's around 137 or 136, I think. They were interested in both of those, and they were both, Mike recommended both of those contractors. The one that was at 146, he didn't give us any specifics,
so are you okay with the low bidder? At that low?
I can't make that decision, but we all know Gehring does a good job, don't we? That's who that is.
Is that the low?
Yeah.
Well, I guess, make it for that amount and then.
You know, I can't remember whether that's the, do you remember the other one, Mike?
The two I was familiar with was Gehring Group, Tom Gehring for TT.
Their interest rate on that, Mike?
Yeah.
Both of those. groups,
I don't think
they
there was
both
under
work
concrete.
for the city, and they
Okay.
both do excellent work.
But at least the
Okay.
money's coming back versus being a gift
Yeah, either one of
and
those
never
two.
coming back. It's over a long period of time, but it's coming
No,
back.
Yeah,
coming
that's
back,
what you
yeah.
said.
That's a plus.
Plus. I'll second it.
So we have a first and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
all the residents and corporate. Really appreciate that decision.
We, as far as any kind of, loan agreement.
Whatever the amount of the lowest bid, do you have that copy of that bid at your
I have it
office?
with me,
I don't
yes.
have it with, Leslie have, it's around 127.
And how many years is this?
It'd be a lot. I haven't divided it up.
The only thing you need to let them know, obviously, any kind of, the documents will have to be approved by this board.
Right.
And there's that process, but we
Okay.
can get it done as soon as, obviously, I know time is of the essence, so.
Right.
Now, will somebody have to come to a meeting or
I think,
how will it close?
we would just do a closing, like, probably through, we could probably use different title or even just at my office.
But I mean,
I'll have to
are
look at it.
the owners, will they be
Yes.
available to come
Yeah.
here?
They would need to be here.
Yeah.
But when I bring back the contract, if you guys approve it, and I can go ahead and send it to them and see if they have any comments, and then hopefully have the correct document in front of you all. So.
All right, we'll move on. A letter from Frank Kramer, TNT.
Mr. Kramer, actually had thought that our meeting was on tomorrow night, not tonight, and he did schedule a visit to Valparaiso Law School with his daughter, tonight. I hope you all got the email from him. We printed out the email and put it in your packets.
Well, except for I didn't realize that the letter that he had emailed that he was asking to send to Mr. Butler wasn't in here, so I can't remember what the.
We have copies of that, but because it was a draft, I did have Connie go ahead and make copies if you want to look at it this afternoon.
Because I can't remember what that amount was.
I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Connie, but it was $70,000, and they would deed the firehouse back to us. I believe that was the.
I think they paid the city.
70.
70.
Mhm. And obviously, this doesn't have to be resolved tonight. Obviously, you can do that if you want. They would also be able to keep any of the kitchen equipment. So that was, I believe, to the Bob and Don Restaurant Supply, which is $15,500. They would keep, and I think he did that because not all of everything, and if you see in my email, the question for Mr. Todd was, do you have any idea where any of that kitchen equipment is? Because it wasn't.
We inventoried, Mr. Fryman and myself inventoried every piece, and it was offloaded into a semi-trailer. I think they said they wanted to paint the interiors. They moved it out, stored in the semi-trailer.
I think according to what I read, in one of these, there was one piece missing that he didn't,
There was a,
a deep fryer, I think, or,
That was the one piece that was there on site. The rest of the
Oh,
pieces
okay.
were not on site.
there was one piece missing of the initial equipment estimate that Mr. Denning was waiting for delivery. And kind of, I think, Mike, it was probably, I want to say, $500 piece.
yeah, I can't,
That would have been on the.
$200, it looks like. $200. That was also my question. That was also, no, that's, if you look at the top, what I printed out, or what Connie printed out to put in your packets, there was a question of the nature of the work that Howard Excavating did to the tune of $118,000.
All the pay invoices were through Howard.
Or through what?
Howard.
And what does that mean? I'm sorry.
They were the contractor.
Okay, so they were the general contractor.
Correct.
So any subcontractors were paid through that 118,000, is that correct? Or no?
It would have been if Mr. Howard engaged them.
Okay.
yeah, 'cause, let's see, there's one,
Already never had $118,000
There's only like
contract.
5 total people, Howard Excavating, Abbott Heating Cooling, Fritz, which is architect, Tim Conroy, remember who that is? Bucher Trucking,
Conroy.
Seymour Contracting.
And Conroy was the painter.
Who is, at this point, TNT?
I don't know, can't answer that one.
Can you, Leslie?
No, but Mr. Kramer could probably, like I said, it may be that,
I mean, I'm just asking,
I think it was Tressie on the documents on it.
TNT is just one person, correct?
correct. Yeah, because, any work that Mr. Denning would have done, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do know he did some of the work himself, is that correct?
Well, they put a claim in for work, correct?
Okay, and so that, to their credit, what he listed on the second page there as far as tools and stuff, did you get a copy of the document? As far as tools, saw blade, those type of things?
Those were paid through the original loan.
Loan or grant?
That was paid directly to Roar Lumber, it looks like. Yeah, so that would have been in that 18,925.57.
Great, okay. Well, I know, Mr. Rogers, you had asked that this come to some type of, and so, I dealt with Mr. Kramer a lot. We had a lot of downtime when we were waiting for all the election results, last week, and I just suggested that he get a synopsis of, what he's found out and what he proposes, and so this is it. But obviously, if you have more specific questions about all this, then, Mr. Kramer is the one you're gonna need to talk with. And we can do a special meeting if you want, or we can, table it and bring it at the next meeting.
Or we can move on.
Yes,
too.
you can. But I just meant as far as Mr. Kramer being able to be here, he would definitely, make himself available for the next meeting if need be.
I'd just like to know who we're dealing with as far as TNT.
Well, according to the documents, TNT Enterprise, whatever it was, the corporation was Tressie Denning.
I think they're getting divorced. Miss Hard Excavating, that's Ken.
Yeah, that's his nephew.
Do you guys want to table this till next meeting when Mr. Kramer can be here, or?
That's up to this board.
I'd like to.
Because he might have more
We can
about
do
it.
that.
Do we have a motion to table till the next meeting for Mr. Kramer to attend? We have a first, do we have a second?
Second.
I thought you made the motion.
Oh,
Oh,
Aaron
Aaron
made the
made,
motion.
okay. Have a first and a second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, move on to 321 Cook Lane.
I did place in your packets, and like I said, I meant to do that for the last meeting, but April 2nd, I did reach out to both of our appraisers, Jeff Thomas and Clint Nearing, and hopefully you're able to look at their responses. They're not changing their appraisals. As far as the redevelopment's powers concerning purchasing, I did speak with Mr. Votal because there has been certain projects because the Tate Street trailer park. You all did pass the resolution because of a blighted area. According to the statute, then, if there's no appeal, because there is an appeal process, a remonstrance that can be done through an agreed party, which can be an individual or whoever, that appeal was never taken. So the prices indicated on the list, which would be for that whole area, may not exceed the average of the two independent appraisals of the fair market value, unless specifically authorized by the commission or ordered by a court in a condemnation proceedings. Mr. Votal, there was one time where there was some land that was needed by the redevelopment, and a condemnation was filed. And then the commission did decide to settle that condemnation by, and they were able to, in that settlement, give the landowner, what they agreed to, which was more money than what the appraisals were. So that would be the only way that we could go over, and I believe.
Do you know what those appraisals was?
I think the average was like 14 or 15.
Yeah,
'Cause it was-
Mr. Nearing was 13,000, and then I think Mr. Thomas was 14, is that correct?
It was around, I'm not sure exact numbers, but it was around there.
Because it was sold in December of 11 for $1,169.
At tax sale, that's how Mr.
But why is he being taxed by the county
The
for
assessor.
47,000?
I don't know.
That's his question
I
to
know,
us.
and that's, we have no control over that. He did do an appeal, of his assessment. I don't know whether or not that was ever, set for hearing. He did provide that information to me. But yeah, that's something he's gonna have to take up with the county. We don't have any control over, the property tax assessment.
When was the resolution for the blighted area?
I'm not sure, but in talking with Mr. Votal, it may have been, they may have started that before 2012, I don't know. He thought there was some kind of resolution.
What would this board like to do? My recommendation is leave it there.
I guess as far as the staff would need to let us know, because part of this too does say that that we can decide that it's not needed too, as part of that whole, parcel over there.
Is this lived in?
No.
Is it?
The only need is necessity. We have, it's actually a unrecorded alley that goes 2/3 of the way from Walker Street to Cook Street. Our intention was to acquire that property so we could go ahead and run that alley straight, improve it, run it out That's where the value of the property comes in, more than adding to the existing parcel, so we can get getting an alley improvement.
But even as, I mean, I don't know how big the lot is compared to our other lots, like for even just the empty lots, the regular standard lot. I mean,
Pretty
those,
small.
it is small, smaller than our standard lot.
Well, I know we've been in other deals where, oh, we don't want to buy that because we don't want the responsibility of tearing the home down and everything, you know, that, in detail that goes with it. But we want to buy this one so bad we can't stand it, the way it seems. So I don't understand. One property we talk about, we don't want to buy an old house we got to tear down. And then another one, we'll do anything, including paying more if we can possibly do it.
Well, that's not my opinion, is to stick with only the value, the two appraisals.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah.
I think we're binded to do that, aren't we?
Yeah, like I said, unless there's a condemnation. And the thing is, as far as condemnation goes, there are certain restrictions under Indiana Code 32. I don't have the rest of it right here. But the public purpose part under that statute, I don't know if that can be made by condemnation. So,
You don't know anything besides 32?
3224 is the eminent domain proceedings. And it states in 36-7-14-20 that the eminent domain proceedings under this section are governed by Indiana Code 3224. So,
So Aaron, are you wanting to approach them again with the average of two appraisals, and if we don't want to accept it, leave it go?
So move.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to 521 St. Clair Street.
Yeah, I get it.
Is it okay if Aaron gives them these 2 copies?
That should be public record.
Right.
yeah. Yeah, that's fine, as far as Mr.
And tell him we're, we're bound.
Mhm. 521 and 519 are kind of hand in hand. The request for proposals I included in your packet. And that would be for the June 9th meeting. We did put in here the standard language that you all have required previously, but it is a single-family residential property in accordance with applicable zoning code and Indiana statutes, and the construction must commence within 90 days of closing, must be complete, and receive certificate of occupancy within 1 year of closing. Those are what we have required most recently on some of the other ones, so I just want to get the okay for it to go ahead and send these out to the paper.
Has this only been advertised for the average of two appraisals, and then this the first one that just accepting?
This is with the average.
You sure? I thought it had been advertised with the
Both of
average
them
of two
have been
appraisals.
advertised to begin with,
This,
as far as notice and offers.
yeah, this here is just,
Second round of advertising.
and this is taking proposals of what people,
Right, because we
Would
can deal
build
with
and-
them at arm's
right.
length at this point.
yeah, I just want to
Yeah.
verify that.
Yeah, this is the,
But this is the first time as
people-
arm's length
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's been advertised.
It's been 30 days, and then the people who propose come in and make their presentation.
Did the board have time to look both of those over? They was identical from what I
Yeah,
seen.
they are.
521 and 519 St. Clair for those advertisements.
Got a question.
Oh, Mike.
I've got one question, because I thought these were first-time advertisements. Since we've already advertised them once, and these are for proposals, I don't think we have in here, do you want owner occupied?
Yeah. Where we been doing it?
Well, we haven't had much success as of late.
owner occupied.
So this board might want to consider, if that's what it takes, at least it's a new home. If somebody does want to build a new home and rent it.
It's on the tax base. Either way.
Get people downtown, be taxed.
It's a lot better than this commission owning it and no taxes coming in. And I mean, it's citizens to get downtown because we just haven't had much luck with
I leave it,
owner occupied.
make a motion, leave it as written.
And I mean, it can still be owner occupied, but it could be rental and just see what's proposed.
I know in the past you've had that, yeah, so that's just what I'm.
And this board, at the end of the day, gets to make that decision of see what's proposed.
You make them.
Any other discussion, or
I'm fine with the way it's written.
you want to make a motion?
Donnie did.
Oh, did you make a motion? All right, second?
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Development agreement with Community Mental Health.
If you remember, I did bring this to you all, when we had Proximo, and it was just Mr. Talbot had not gotten back with us. He has since done that and executed this. I did give you all a copy at the time we did the Proximo one, and as I explained then, we had to kind of, I had to change the language because this is a program, not really a project. If you remember, this is for towards the salary support, equipment and furniture for a new treatment program supported by the Indiana Division of Mental Health and Addictions in Dearborn County Hospital. Dearborn County, if you remember, is leasing them the space. I think they gifted, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hughes, they gifted some to this project, or to the program as well?
The hospital,
Yes,
3 years of lease.
3 years of lease. So they have a free lease for 3 years. That's what it was.
Whole project together was about $1 million. So we're at 10%.
I don't know if you all need any more support for this, but I do know as an attorney and working with individuals that do have substance abuse disorders and mental illness, that dual diagnosis is very difficult for everyone involved, including your attorneys, your judges, and these, this facility. But I do think, I've seen it over the years, that it is something that's is definitely needed in our area, so.
And I think this board had approved it before to go to the grant committee.
Mhm. Yeah, you did do a sponsorship.
Any discussion? What would the board like to do? Anything from the board?
Make a motion to approve it.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
My original was in my
Final
office.
agreement.
If you want to time, we can come down and sign it.
I can stop by there tomorrow or something if
Okay.
you just want to.
Yeah, my original's
Call
down
me
there.
or-
I'll just have you sign two and they can get one back. Then I'll have Jackie. It's Donnie anyway. Do it at the same
No,
time.
last time.
We'll make sure Donnie's on that then. Okay.
Move on to approval of claims once properly certified.
Can I ask one other thing under old business?
Yes.
Someone asked me,
Sorry about that.
on the property at 19 East Williams, there's no like size of the lot or anything in the advertisement. So is that whole grass lot over there one property from Short Street all the way to the alley over here? Is that one property? One big property? Okay.
And actually,
Some of the parking too.
Now, the parking on the front, William Street, but not the parking back in the parking lot.
Kings right here, just the grass area
In the front parking.
was
Okay.
19.
Yeah.
The asphalt parking lot behind that goes with this
Okay.
property.
Okay, thank you.
And that has been advertised.
For the
Yes.
appraised value, yeah.
Okay.
yeah, it ran on March 20th and March 27th, and actually, those were supposed to be at tonight's meeting. As far as I know, we didn't receive anything, as far as any proposals, so.
So now we need to wait 30 days.
That was also for 517 Euphemia.
At arm's length.
Okay. So when was it advertised? When was it due by?
Today.
Today, okay.
Mhm. But that was, if you all, if you think you have someone that's,
No, I just had people ask me about it. I didn't know the answer, so I told them I'd find out.
So it won't be 30 days by our next meeting?
no, those were no, those were the actual notice and offers, correct?
For what?
Notice and offers on 517 Euphemia and 19 East Williams, or was that an RFP? I wrote down set for proposals, so I'm thinking it was an RFP. Correct?
You lost me. Where you at now?
On 517 Euphemia and 19 East Williams, which you just spoke about, those were RFPs, correct?
Or what?
Those were requests for proposals that were,
RFPs, yes.
yes. So we're already at the arm's length.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and no
nobody
one, and no
responded.
one submitted anything. So we're kind of like where we are with 353 Short Street.
No, we haven't advertised it just for that. It was just for the appraised value
Okay.
for this one. I don't know about the Euphemia, but this for this one was just for the.
Okay, so
That's
the
what I
notices
thought
and
about
offers,
this
so I'm
one.
sorry. When I went through those, I'm at any rate. So, I guess then the best thing to do is wait until the middle of May.
What was the appraisal on it? 70,000 or 72,000?
I don't have that information with me, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
The only other thing I had under old business, last month you did ask me to order appraisals for that little piece for Proximo, and I did do that. So
Yeah.
we should maybe have those back by the next meeting.
And Connie, can you go ahead and put 19 William Street on the next agenda?
Thank you.
So it's not overlooked. Thank you.
It's East Williams.
East William.
Mhm.
Okay, move on to approval of claims once properly certified. Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
First and a second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
I'm sorry, I have one other thing that I
Okay.
gave to you guys. There was a notice of offer on Industrial Drive. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were okay, and I did review this with staff beforehand, but, I thought that you all wanted this for commercial development, is that correct? For the Industrial Drive?
I think it would have to be.
It's actually next use for
Was it?
commercial/general manufacturing.
Okay.
It could be either or.
But I just generally put in there a property for commercial development. If you guys, I didn't know if you wanted anything more specific, that's why I brought it with me. But if this is fine, then I'll go ahead and, get that in the paper too.
Tony, do you want to talk about these things you passed out?
Oh, no, I just get y'all thinking, get you hungry.
So, do you need approval for this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you guys are okay with this notice, then I'll go ahead and get that out. And that would be set for the June 9th meeting as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the advertisement for the Industrial Drive, property.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor, do we have a second? First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Sorry, there you go. All done.
Comments from the audience?
Didn't pay the bills yet.
Yeah, we did. You missed that one?
You missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
did.
did. I got it.
It's kind of referring to your infill lots. Comment was just made that we haven't done too good. I gotta disagree with that. We have built, sold 22 homes. I don't see no reason yet to give up and say that, hey, let's see what people will put on this. I've been sitting back here waiting the last 6 or 8 months to see how many people in this county are as dumb as I am to want to build a house down at that end of town, and I think me and the group been doing a pretty good job. You know, there's been 13 homes on Walnut Street, 22 homes over in the end of town, different things getting fixed up. I would, you know, personally, you know, I made a presentation about 1.5 years ago on a handicap home. I've been sitting back, I've been waiting, see if anybody else is interested. You know, we are interested in doing things down here. But when you get into these things, it's going to take some special circumstances. I brought that up on that handicap home. It got voted down. You know, you guys never wanted to put in the extra money to do that. Now I think you're seeing that, you know, you don't have a whole lot of people around here that want to do it. I just got through with the bank. I redid my finances. I've been approved to do another house in between the one I just built. It's getting harder to do these houses. It's costing me more money. There's a lot of things that in the last 2 to 3 years have added up on these homes, and the problem is I feel like there's a ceiling. I know we would like for that ceiling not to be there, but for me, just a simple guy wanting to build a house, they are there. I got to be careful, but you know, we've got 521 and 519 St. Clair Street over there, and I just heard that, hey, you know, let's let anybody put anything, basically rental properties, better than nothing. I don't know if that fits in with the plan or not, guys. Is that the way we want to look at this? I hope it isn't, because I think with a little more help to the buyer, I can put a new house in there. You know, maybe it might take, instead of 10,000, it might take 15 or 20. There is 2 pieces of rental property on each side of those properties. However, you know, I would like to see still owner occupied. I don't want you to give up on that. I haven't been bidding on these properties for one reason. I learned some lessons. All it means to me when I own a piece of property down here is I got a right to cut grass and pay taxes. And believe me, it got hard. I got 22 lots or 23 lots over there. I paid a lot of taxes out, and I would not mind coming in here and bidding on a few more things, but I cannot come in here and do 2 or 3 houses at a time and make that kind of commitment. You know, I just wish you guys would think about this a little bit more and realize what you've done is, I personally think that end of town over there looks pretty good. I think that you're not going to notice a whole big giant amount right off the bat, but you go putting 2 new houses on St. Clair Street over there and get some owners in them, you know, maybe that house next door might sell. Maybe something 3 doors down might sell. We just found Martin Luther King here shortly is going to have every place on that side of the road is going to be a brand new home. Our lifetimes ain't going to see it, but 20 years from now, we might see a whole lot more new houses in this town unless we give up and start talking like that.
I mean, I wasn't giving up. I was just under the impression that if you bid someone that is going to put a rental property in and you bid the same price for owner occupied, you know, my vote would go with owner occupied.
Well, and you do have that option.
That's only for a certain amount of years, and then they can, like Rufus over there now, he's selling his.
He ain't selling it, he lost it.
He did?
Yeah. Banks got it.
But I think it's more just to see what proposals come in, and even if somebody wants to build owner occupied versus rental, but the price for the lot's a whole lot less, the board can still go with that.
They can still go with it, but you guys are still loosening up a little bit, and I would like to see a little more creativity in working with this group over here to my left about, you know, guys, there's a difference between me putting a new house right between them places. I mean, if you offer that buyer a little more incentive, he's liable to do it. You know, the whole deal here is if it wasn't for you guys pledging that money, you've seen it, they built a house over there, and it sat for I don't know how long. But when you guys stepped in and you picked up the ball and ran with it, it worked. Now, that's not enough for what we got going on Short Street. Short Street's going to have the same problem. You got to come up with another plan. You got to offer the buyer a little bit more. I don't know how much, but it's gonna have to be done. So, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in on that.
Thank you, Paul. Pat?
Yeah, I was just thinking about some of the points that Paul made, and I know we do have some rental property, and, several years ago, we have those small paint fix-up grants through Main Street. We give $500 for residential. And several years ago, that was changed from any property at all to owner-occupied only. One of my thoughts is maybe if you go back and allow us to give grants for some of that rental property, for instance, if there's an infill lot that needs a home, okay, and there's rental property on either side, maybe we should look and we should kind of coordinate our efforts and say, okay, let's look what's around this infill lot. Is there a way that we can put out a little money here and there, make some improvements, so then that infill lot in a new owner-occupied home looks a lot more attractive to someone? And maybe we need to look at it in terms of blocks of areas like that where we can make some improvements. And we do have that funding there. So, and also as far as the new homes, we've only got about the money that you all gave to Main Street to administer that program. I think we really only have we just got an application, only 2 more left. We've got enough to fund 2 more of those projects, so just so you know about that. I don't know if you put anything in last year's budget. I was thinking maybe you did, but I can't recall for certain. But that's just a thought, that maybe we could work together and identify those areas and get some of that rental property looking a little better, so that...
So this owner-occupied would be
Yes.
more apt to...
Right. That might be a way to coordinate efforts.
How many years they gotta live there?
Maybe that's where a little of the 10 county grant money should be going. Any other comments from the audience? Motion to adjourn? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Have a good evening, everybody.
I want you.
Sorry. It's coming up.
Put account number on there.
Yeah. Did you hear what Aaron said? Put your account number on there. It's all coming out of your system.
Oh, yes.
You really did? Oh.
I had that much.
Bruce has one that's out there, more hard guys.